What's up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Please subscribe here and please follow me on Instagram at RussoLifts. In case something happens to this channel, you can follow, message me, interact with me directly, and there's daily content on there. Hope to see you guys on Instagram. What's up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. A quick topic video today on androgen bases as well as test bases. So there's a lot of confusion in my Instagram DM box about, do I need a test base for this? Why do I need a base? Why can't you do SARMs only? Russo, you've done SARMs only before, now you don't do SARMs only. Like, what's the deal with that? I've made videos in the past touching on androgen bases and test bases, but it still seems to confuse people. So I'm gonna try and lay it out as simple as possible. So with SARMs specifically, and then I'll go into regular gear cycles too as far as androgen bases are concerned, but with SARMs specifically, SARMs do not convert to estrogen or DHT. That means once the SARM is saturated in the system, most of the time the HPTA will pick up that something is binding with the androgen receptors and there's all this free testosterone floating around, and your HPTA will autocorrect and start suppressing natural testosterone. Now that's fine. Natural testosterone being suppressed with the exogenous SARM being added in is fine. The SARM is taking over the role of the androgen in the body, so the androgen is fine. However, SARMs, the androgen pathway is fine. However, SARMs don't convert to estrogen, so that natural testosterone that was converting to estrogen, giving you a constant supply of normal estrogen, is now gone. So you're eventually going to choke out your estrogen and you're going to have low estrogen, virtually no estrogen. I've seen blood work of SARMs only cycles, again, high dosage SARMs only cycles, where the estrogen is virtually non-existent. Now, why is this important? You need estrogen to build muscle. You need estrogen to maintain normal libido functions. Estrogen is very important when it comes to muscle gain. I know, people think, oh, it's all about the most androgen. No, you need to keep a healthy, normal level of estrogen in your blood work. That is the most optimal. So the issue I ran into with the SARMs only cycles, I get really mad when people say, oh, none of this matters, Russo, because you're not even documenting the SARM, you're using a test base. I was one of the first people to do SARMs only cycles. I think I was one of the only people to document all my SARMs only cycles in video format. And the issue I would run into was around week 7 is when suppression would really start messing with me, and I wouldn't progress any farther, and my libido would start to dip. Lethargy would start to set in, all of that. That wasn't because my androgens were low. My androgens were high because the exogenous SARM was being added in. What was happening was, the SARM finally suppressed my natural testosterone to a point where I had little to no estrogen conversion going on. So basically I couldn't progress any farther. I wouldn't make any more gains. I believe there was one video Dr. Tony Huge made where he asked a competitor who ran and blasted AIs year round. He's like, did you gain any muscle from blasting AIs year round, which I highly recommend you don't do. And he said it was the best he ever looked, but he made absolutely zero gains. So estrogen is very important. That's why with S23, I always say you need some sort of exogenous form of estrogen to be added in, because S23 is going to shut down your natural test very fast, as well as high doses of LGD, high doses of RAD. They're all going to shut you down, and you're going to run into the estrogen issue. So something that converts to estrogen is needed, whether that be rub-on dermacrine cream, rub-on 4-andro cream, regular 4-andro, D-ball, test, obviously being the best, but anything that's going to have an estrogen conversion and keep your estrogen at a normal level, I would highly recommend if you're planning on going over 7 weeks. You can get away with little SARMs only cycles, you can get great results, but if you're doing a longer, higher dosage cycle, then you're probably limiting your gains from the crash of estrogen, from your natural testosterone being crashed, and then the SARMs are present in the system, but they're not going to convert to estrogen. So adding in some exogenous form of estrogen is going to help you out a lot. Now, androgen bases with gear is a different thing. So androgen base is different from test base. Test base is more around Sarms only cycles and why you need some sort of form of exogenous estrogen. That's what I mean by test base when I'm talking. What I mean by androgen base is when people don't understand the half-lives of compounds. So not every compound lasts 24 hours in the system. Some last as little as 3 to 4 hours. Some last 6 hours. LGD 4033 lasts around 27 hours. So if you're going to utilize a compound that only lasts 3 to 4 hours or even 6 hours, if you're dosing that once a day, that means your level is going to spike and it's going to taper off and be virtually non-existent. So as your testosterone, your natural testosterone crashes, if this is all you're utilizing is just this one short half-life compound and you don't have the understanding that you need to keep blood levels stable. So that means if it's a 3-hour, half-life compound, you need to be pretty consistent on keeping up with dosing and splitting it up throughout the day, which when you go to sleep, it would definitely half-life out of your system almost, but you need to be constant at keeping that dosage constant. Otherwise, you're going to have issues where at some points in the day, your androgen levels are extremely high, and other points of the day, your androgen levels are non-existent after your natural testosterone is suppressed. So what I mean by androgen base is either a base of testosterone, a SARM can be used as an androgen base, something with a 24-hour half-life or something that you can keep stable in the system that is going to just have a constant androgen level for you to fall back on, meaning maybe you want to try and play around with pre-workout androgens, but you can't only utilize pre-workout androgens all the time, otherwise you're going to suppress your natural testosterone and your androgens are going to spike when you dose the pre-workout androgens, but as the short half-lives dip out, you're left with no androgens in your system. But if you had an LGD base that's constantly stable in the blood, you could add, a pre-workout androgen such as YK11 or any oral form of gear that's short half-life, and you could spike it pre-workout, it would taper off, but it wouldn't crash because the LGD 4033 is still at a stable blood level. It has a long half-life. It's still keeping your androgens there. So it's very important to try and keep blood levels as stable as possible, or at least have one androgen as your base to fall back on. Again, testosterone being the most commonly used thing for an androgen base, but you can use any sort of androgen as long as you have, again, a normal amount of estrogen going on. You can use anything that you can keep stable and constant. So you really need to research into what your cycle is going to be and how you're going to utilize things, what the half-lives of the compounds you want to use are, and if you need to keep a constant androgen in there, because the half-life short, you're not going to be able to dose it all day to keep the blood level stable, so you're going to need to add it in an androgen base. Or if you're playing around and utilizing SARMs, then you need to think about if the dosage is high enough, will my natural test be suppressed enough to a point where I'm going to have low estrogen issues? Should I look into adding a test base or an exogenous form of estrogen to combat that issue? That's going to save you a lot of headaches as far as getting the most out of the cycle, as well as combating libido issues, because when your androgens are spiking all over the place, that's going to lead to more acne, that's going to lead to more side effects, more libido issues, and overall, it's just all problems that could easily be avoided if you did the research before and figured out the game plan as far as, what half-lives do I need to work with, or what do I need to add in to keep everything quote-unquote normal as far as blood work is concerned. So hopefully that opened up your mind about how to plan out your next cycle, or how to be healthier about, or how to be smarter about going about your next cycle. Otherwise, guys, happy Friday. I will see you in my next video.